Zidane, for those of you who are watching this after the fact, because this is going to be a video that is going to be both up on YouTube as well as just like a separate video, as well as this is on stream. Um, and I just wanted to separate this so that people could see this. So this is my thoughts on Final Fantasy X from where I currently am. Just for the record, as you can see, I have done little over 9 hours of this. I have played through 4 streams of this game, and if you want to check those out, absolutely go and do so. But this is basically going to be my thoughts on the game. Obviously, I've not finished it, but I think that it's worth mentioning what exactly this is. So, firstly, is Final Fantasy X a bad game? No. Is it the best Final Fantasy? No. Is it the worst Final Fantasy? Also, no. I think that what Super Mario Buns once said that Final Fantasy X is quite possibly one of the best games to introduce somebody to Final Fantasy X, or to Final Fantasy as a whole. And granted, it does have a lot of different things that are very reminiscent of both versions of this, of pretty much everything across the timeline of all of the Final Fantasies, whether that be 1 through 9 or 11 onward. But at the same time, it's not. I don't think that it's the best Final Fantasy to start somebody off with. I think that 9 quite possibly is going to take that spot, as it is 9 is considerably more fun, and it gives you a lot. I think that it's just the better option. The game is extremely linear. The only game that I would say is probably more linear is that of 13. And 13 did try to improve on a lot of things that this game did. So while I will say that it's decent, it's just, I don't know. 13 is quite possibly one of the worst of the Final Fantasies. It's hard to say with certainty what is the exact worst, but I think that that's probably a good assumption to make. But as for 10, I will say that I like the Sphere Grid. I think that it was a very interesting system. If we go into it, I think that it's very interesting what you can do, especially with the fact that you can each of these blank ones you can choose specific things to put in there, as well as a lot of other aspects to it. I think the biggest problem with the Sphere Grid is just the fact that you may not necessarily have all of the... you're going to be constantly running out of spheres. And I think that could have been something that they could have done better. There's so many types of spheres, and you're pretty much going to have a shit ton of power, a shit ton of mana, and a shit ton of speed. But, like, the Fortune one, the Ability one, as well as the ones that you can use to basically fill in a spot for each of these, those ones are basically kind of just, who knows, it could be good, it could be bad. The lock spheres are interesting, but you're probably not going to get those for a good while. So I think it's a decent system, and it allows for a lot of development. And as for the what was that good? So I think it's a good system. I think that it needed some work, which I think that they kind of did a bit as the game series continued, as more games continued. But I think that each game has their own way of doing things, and I think that this was a good system for this specific game. Obviously, I don't really need to talk about items. As for abilities, I think that the abilities is kind of a complicated issue, because most of them you get from doing the Sphere Grid, and sometimes that can be a really massive pain in the backside. Like, as for example, Auron, at this point in time, I only have one of his abilities, which is kind of sucky. And same thing goes for, like, almost everybody. Like, each one has, like, they have some, for sure, but it's a lot. So I think that it could be better, but it's also a bit worse. As for the overdrive system, I think it's a very fun system. I think that they could have done a bit more with it. But I like how each of these different, each character kind of has their own thing for these, and um, I think I think that each one is each of the mini games can be very fun. I don't think that it's the best idea that almost that pretty much every single ultimate ability requires a mini game for it. The only ones that don't is that of Kimahri and Yuna at this point. At this point in time, everyone else requires a mini game. Um, does Riku? I don't know. We'll see. I think that it could work. Probably by the end of the game, I'm sure that it could be fun, but I'm not certain exactly what I would do with this. I want to also talk about the equipment. I think that it is I think it's a good idea that the abilities are there are abilities that are connected to each of the weapons. I think that there are certain problems with it, especially like like each of the different strikes to where you basically a weapon will do a certain amount of damage, a certain type of damage. I think that was a wise decision. I think that was a very fun decision. But I think like things like sensor or certain buffs to the different ability, like strength and such. I think that some of those should have been something that you, as you leveled up with the specific weapon, maybe those get grafted onto you, and you basically get an extra boost to that specific ability. So, and then maybe you can sell the specific item. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary to necessarily think about it, but I think that that's a definite possibility. Same thing goes for the armor. They usually give like a ward of some sort as well as HP, and I think that it works. It works fine. I think that there are certain things that it could be a lot better. There's certain things that could be a lot worse, and that's pretty much it. And as for the summons, I do like the fact that you're able to name them. I will say that. My problem is that with Ifrit is that Ifrit looks nothing like Ifrit does in most of the games. Otherwise, I think that it's very fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more of what the summons could be, but I'm not certain. And that's pretty much all that I have to say for this. I think that it's a very good game, but I think that there's a lot of things that could be improved. And I think that if they were to ever do a full remake, they need to remove the linearity of it, because it's just way too linear. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this stream as well as this video. If you're watching this either in the future or as it's live. But I have been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys in the next one. But on